Hey, this is Ryan Tucker, and we want to thank you for listening to the Unchangeable Truth podcast. In this podcast, we get to dive into Pastor Stephen's weekly sermons right here at Highland Park Baptist Church. We would ask you to rate, like, subscribe, and comment. And again, we are honored and thankful that you have chosen to listen to the Unchangeable Truth. What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Unchangeable Truth podcast. Right here, Panama City with Pastor Stephen. And, man, it is almost Christmas time.
I like Christmas.
So do I.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's my birthday, too.
It's your birthday.
Yeah.
The
Christmas
day before.
Eve.
Yeah.
God said, I'm reserving Christmas that for the, for Jesus, the Son of God, God in the flesh. So I'm not going to put your birthday on Christmas. I'm going to get you about as close as I can get you.
That's right. Yeah.
But
I know you like Christmas, and I know you like gifts.
I like giving gifts.
Yeah, you like getting them too.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Well, you said it.
I like giving them more than getting them.
It's fun. I've seen you bring a bunch of stuff in all week for these kids around here.
So I've been sick. I've been under the weather, and man, I've been buying stuff like crazy through my phone.
So
Amazon's the greatest thing in the world.
Are you a snooper? Like, do you like to snoop?
No, not really.
I do.
Here's what I like to do,
I
and
love
it
to snoop.
infuriates my wife. I like to, you pick up a present, and before I open it, shake it, and then guess exactly what it is.
Yeah. I've written it down. Like, I've written down and slid it over, and I said, this is what. But I like to snoop. And here's my theory on snooping, okay? One, there's the thrill of snooping, right? Then the excitement when you find it, and then you have the anticipation of what, I just found this, I know I'm going to get it on this day, and then you get the excitement again because you actually get the thing you know that you're getting. So, like, rather than just open it, there it is, like, you get 4 things of excitement by snooping. That's the logic right there.
There you go.
That's some, y'all can use that, ladies and gentlemen. You can use that in your life moving forward. Christmas time, snooping. It's a good way to go.
Yeah, or you could wait and just and take great joy in opening the gift.
There's joy in finding it, and there's joy in opening it when you get it.
Yeah. Well, Journey and I are going to talk to your wife about start doing plants.
It's better to give than receive, Ryan.
Yeah. We're going to get her.
I love to give too. Like we're
going to get her to hide some fake gifts.
Anyway.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not opening presents at your house on Christmas morning. Now that my kids are older, and I don't have any grandkids or anything yet, but they all want to on Christmas Eve. We do our candlelight services, go to the house. I have my world famous crock pot ham ready to go. We eat,
Mr. Pibb,
and then they're like, "Let's open presents." Well, I mean, it's not. I was the only one last year. Let's wait. Christmas Day. Come on, let's wait on Christmas. No, we don't want to get up early. We don't. And I'm like, who says we got to get up early? And anyway, so we opened them all on Christmas Eve. That started last year.
Yeah. So my wife still likes to get up on Christmas morning and sit by the tree and open the presents.
Yeah, because she's with you still got one that is looking for the man in the red long handles. Nope.
No.
Okay.
He's in
be careful. I want to be
grade.
careful. I want to be careful what I say because I don't know.
Grade.
I don't know who if little ears are in the back of cars when people are listening. I don't want to be the.
True.
I don't want to be that guy. So,
True.
Anyway.
I got you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I tell you this though. I did 2 weeks ago. I was in Arkansas preaching at a buddy's church up there, and my wife and I went to a mall, an actual mall walk-in.
They still have those things?
They did. It's crazy. Wow. And anyway, there was a guy there dressed as Santa. Clearly, it was not Santa. It was some guy pretending and acting like he was Santa, and he wasn't even a good one. So, yeah, I guess those knockoff Santas they give the real Santa. They don't, portray it the way it should be. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Well, man, hey, this Sunday we had our little music. Is it a cantata music program, music event?
I always think of Easter as a cantata, but there may be a Christmas cantata. We don't really use that word anymore. We call it a musical presentation.
Musical presentation. That's the verbiage I was looking for. It was good, man. They did a good job.
I thought so. I mean,
they did a good job.
I heard the whole thing from the green room.
Yeah.
And so it was watching it on TV, and than hearing the bleed off from the stage. I mean, clearly the energy was not in the green room.
Yeah. So you're feeling better though. I mean, you were sick Sunday.
Million
feeling
times
better. Good.
I woke up this morning. It's weird. I've been on steroids, and so I've been sleeping about 3 hours a night. Fell asleep last night, 11 o'clock, and woke up stone cold wide awake 3 a.m. And I'm like, man, I need to go back to sleep. And then you just
couldn't do it.
You're not going to do it.
You just got up and meditated on the word and prayed and got on your knees and stuff. Yeah.
Well, yeah, not really. I didn't do that. I got up and I turned on YouTube TV and I'm like, let me see if I can find a good Western. And there wasn't any good Westerns. So anyway, I kept thinking it, because what'll happen usually if I turn on a Western, about 15, 20 minutes, I'm out. I'm asleep. But that was not an option. I watched a little docuseries though on how the the OK Corral, how it really happened. That's interesting.
They have a docuseries on that.
Well, the movies are not correct. It's interesting when you start watching how the whole thing transpired, and you kind of get this idea. This is something that just happened over the course of 24 hours, and no, this was something that happened like over the course of 5 or 6 years. But it's kind of interesting. But there's always a good guy, bad guy in every movie scenario, and so the history proves that there was some good and bad on both sides. So. Yeah. But anyway, I feel good. I'm just, right now I'm sweating because of course it is the week before Christmas in Panama City, Florida, and it is 80 degrees
it's
outside.
Hot outside. It's not doing good for my duck hunting either. My goodness.
80 degrees outside. You're sitting there, and we have a big staff Christmas party tomorrow, and I was sitting there and I'm like, well, what Christmas sweater am I going to wear? And I'm like, I'm not wearing a Christmas sweater. This is crazy.
Short sleeve shirt.
Exactly. You could wear shorts. I saw people walking all around today wearing shorts.
Yeah.
So, but there have been Christmas mornings where if you want to go to the beach, you easily could go to the beach.
Yeah.
So Journey, you've been living here now
forever.
20 years, 25 years, longer than that.
About 40, I think.
40 years.
How old are you?
35.
How old are you?
I'm just kidding.
He's been around for a little while.
He's a good-looking 60-year-old man. Yeah.
That's
don't add to
very
it.
awkward.
Oh, all right, there we go. Sorry.
All
Anyway.
right, man. Ho, ho, ho. Christmas time.
Christmas. It's here.
It's here. And that's what we talked about Sunday a little bit.
Yeah, we talked about Jesus, talking about, and again, like that's nothing new here at our church to talk about Jesus, talk about the King of Kings, talk about what he does for us and the opportunity that we have to accept the free gift of salvation from him. And, I know it was a shorter message than normal, but as you always tell us, make a beeline to the cross as quick as you can.
There you go.
And you did it. So
yeah, a lot of extra singing.
Yeah.
My son, Sunday evening, my wife and daughter had to leave town, and so my 16-year-old was, I'm home. I'm not feeling well, and he said, "Dad, do you need me to do anything?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I need you to go to the grocery store and get some groceries." And so Jugger got like $250 worth of groceries. And anyway, he doesn't look at prices when he shops, but he said, I was checking out, and he said the name of a young lady that goes to church here in your collegiate ministry. And she said, "Are you here all by yourself?" And he said, "Yeah, well, my mom and sister, they're out of town, and my dad's home. He's sick. He didn't feel good." And she goes, "Yeah, I could tell. I think I could tell today when he was preaching that he didn't feel good." And she said, "But there's one thing that, he did really good." And my son asked her what, and she goes, "He didn't preach that long." And you might want to pass that along to him and tell him that's good. And anyway,
we're not going to pass that along to you, brother. We're not going to.
And here's where he goes, "Dad, I think she's trying to be funny."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, she was. That's good."
Well, we talked. You talked. I said we. You talked about sometimes Christmas season brings problems, but man, we can have this level of joy at Christmas time.
Well, I think the problem, and this is what I tried to address as we dealt with the wise men, the Magi.
Yeah.
A lot of folks have bought into this idea. Boy, if we can just get into the Christmas season, then I'm going to have this almost like this emotional vitamin B12
Yeah.
shot, you
Yeah.
know, and everything's going to be better. The season's just going to change everything. And when I can give gifts and receive gifts, and when I can do the parties and all that kind of stuff, and unfortunately, they realize, my goodness, I've been thinking that my joy is directly related to a season,
Yeah.
or to something that is material, and you're going to be disappointed every single time. And so the approach that I tried to take was, hey, let's look at how this joy that we get, because we do get joy from Christmas, but I'm going to say we get joy from what happened at Christmas.
Yeah.
That if it weren't for God leaving heaven and putting on flesh and coming in the form
Yeah.
of a baby called Jesus, then none of us would have any joy. But that joy does not have to be contained to a month of the year,
Right.
or 30 days, or, I mean, goodness, I know we got some people here on staff start celebrating Christmas after
It's weird.
4th of July.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to, it can be an everyday type thing, because it all focuses on the reason for Christmas, on Jesus. Several years ago, Ryan, I don't know if you remember this, I preached a message basically entitled, "You Are the Reason for the Season."
Yeah.
And
You passed out these little
passed out bumper stickers. Yeah, there was a because, you know, everybody always says, well, Jesus is the reason for the season. And I'm like,
Right.
well, yeah, absolutely. I said, but let's just be honest. If you want to cut down, you know, just get down to it, sin is the reason for the season. And I said, I didn't think that looked very good on
Right,
bumper
right,
sticker, so I decided to say, you are the reason for the season.
I think you actually pulled me on stage that day.
Did I?
It was one of the. I was brand new ish.
What did I get you to do?
You just? I think you were mentioning sin as the reason for the season, and you used me as that sin illustration.
Nice.
And then you said, "Everybody, you're the reason."
Here's our new guy.
Yeah.
Man, that's a long time
That
ago.
was a long time ago.
Yeah, clearly it's etched in your memory.
Yeah, scarred. You know.
I don't remember. You remember that journey? Do you
Hang on
remember
every
him
word you
getting up
say.
there on the stage?
I've always thought of Ryan that way.
Is Ryan's the reason for the season? That's what we should have had. I should.
The sin part.
The sin part.
I should have had
Ryan's
bumper
sin
stickers
is-
that said Ryan's the reason for the season. That would have been
That's
awesome.
sinful, man. Well, let's get back on topic, boys.
Hey, and let's say this before you dig into this. No. I understand that this would have been several weeks
Yeah.
after Christ
Yeah.
was born.
Yeah.
The way Hallmark tells the story
Right.
is they were all there together, the shepherds and the wise
Yeah, yeah.
men. And no, he would have. This would have been later on.
Yeah.
But it still doesn't take away from why they were there.
Yeah.
They would have gotten there sooner.
Yeah.
if they had the way I say it is, if they'd had Micah's prophecy,
Right.
they would have gotten there a lot sooner.
Yeah.
But their reasoning behind being there was that's kind of the key lesson for all of us.
And you talk about how we can improve our level of joy, and then you make these three statements talking about how your level of joy is directly related to what you seek. And again, just talking about making sure that we're seeking the right thing. The wise men, the magi, like they were seeking Jesus. They were seeking the right thing. And and you think about the Christmas season, like I've been looking at that verse in Isaiah, I think it's 9 verse 6, where it says, for unto us a child is born. But then it says he's wonderful counselor, he's a mighty God, he's everlasting Father, he's the Prince of Peace. And whenever you start to tear those apart and you break those words down, man, there is some beautiful language and meaning of who Jesus is for us all the time, not just in this moment. And, your joy is directly related to what you seek.
Sure. Well, here are these guys who've traveled,
Yeah.
Such a long distance, and they finally, in their minds, there's a king that is being born, and so they have access to Daniel's prophecy, just not Micah's prophecy, and so they're like, well, naturally, where are we going to go? So they go to Herod. They go to the palace, and they're like, hey, we're here for the king, because kings are born in palaces, right?
Right.
And they say, but we're here because we want to worship him.
Yeah.
We're not just here because we're curious.
Yeah.
We're not just here because we don't have anything else to do. We have come to worship Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And, you can sit there and you can do all the right things, say all the right things, have all the right expectations, and still not have joy in your life if your pursuit, I would even say this, you can pursue joy and still not have joy. The pursuit is
That's
after
deep.
Christ.
Yeah.
That is the only way that joy can come. Hey, we've come from a long way, but here's why we've come. We're looking for the King.
Yeah.
Why? Because we want to worship him.
Yeah.
I wonder how many folks would have sat there and said, we're looking for the King because we need him to do something. We're looking for the King because we need a touch. We need healing.
Yeah.
We're looking for the King because we've been disappointed or we've been lied to. But no, I mean, it's just like, no, we've come to worship him. That really, if we approach the Christmas season and we're saying, boy, it's not been the best year. It's not been the best. You can even say couple of years or season of life or whatever. All I know is whether it's been a bad 5 years or a bad 5 days, it all stinks.
Yeah.
And even in the bad 5 days, it can seem like the longest time of your life. That your prayer, I would encourage folks, instead of the prayer being as Christ followers, hey, God, remove this depression from me. God, remove this disappointment from me. And I'm not saying those prayers are wrong.
Right.
But I would say let those be secondary to, God, give me a fresh new glimpse of you. Kind of like you reading the scripture over in Isaiah and really focusing on those names, and each one of those titles just reveal more and more of the character of Christ. And you really start getting serious about that and understanding what those titles mean. You just want to toss your pen up in the air and just hallelujah, have a just glorious worship moment there.
Well, and I think about, all right, that verse, and even, seeking Jesus despite the stuff going on. Like, we think of Christmas and we think momentary, we think of a season, but, in reality, right, like Jesus is all those things all of the time. Like, we can seek him like all the time, every day, every moment. And to me, that's, it's an encouraging thought. It's a moment just to kind of reflect again, going, hey, like we get the chance, we get the opportunity to seek and worship.
And I would remind our listeners that there is this human tendency, oh man, life's so hard, things aren't going well. I did all the right things because I was promised if I did the right things, then I would receive this outcome, and I did not receive that outcome. Or even worse than that, did all the right things, got the outcome that I was hoping for, and then that outcome is powerless, and it wasn't able to bring what I was longing for. That the human tendency tends to be, boy, now's not the time to worship.
Yeah.
I just don't feel worshipful.
And I know you don't like that statement.
Well, I don't, because there's a danger there, because you can come into a service and my goodness, we say this all the time, and almost feel bad saying this because I know that this is not the case with so many churches, but goodness, how we are blessed with unbelievable musically talented people. And so, man, they can get up there and they can start singing, and they can make the hair stand up on the back of your neck. And, you can get these God bumps all over your arm, and just like, whoo, man, did you feel the worship? And there's a danger there, because I'm going to argue what in my own life, what I would say are some of the most worshipful moments in my life or when I'm like, okay, the flesh is telling me I have nothing to praise for. My own emotions are saying, why are you here? And so what the devil loves to do, he wants us to take that posture, because the devil knows if he can separate us from that heart and that attitude of worship, then that's a very dangerous place for us to be.
Yeah.
And so we talk about this. We say this all the time. If you don't feel like worshiping, just worship till you feel like worshiping.
Yeah.
And here's these wise men. I mean, it'd been a long trip. I mean, the scripture doesn't say this, but I'm just thinking, okay, if I were a part of a crew, and I would never be part of a crew of wise men. I'm just not a wise man. But let's say I'm a part of a crew, me and two other.
That can be our new name in here.
Yeah, the not wise men. But, you know, we've traveled that far. It hadn't been an easy distance, right? Finally get to the place. I mean, I could just see, oh, hey, there's the palace right there, boys.
Yep.
We're there.
Yep.
We're there. We're finally going to see this king. And you get there. No, he's not here.
Yeah.
But you read Daniel.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we've come all this far. We're not, where is he?
Yeah.
And you know, there's a moment of time where they're waiting. You know, the King Herod's like, so, you know, he gets the Jewish priest, hey, do you know anything about this? Go search the scriptures. And they come back and they're like, yeah. Micah said Bethlehem.
Yeah.
And I could just even see, and it's not a very far journey. I mean, 7 miles from Jerusalem. Now, walking 7 miles, and listen, these guys would have had a caravan.
Yeah.
It's not just 3 men.
3 men on a camel.
Yeah. There would have been a lot of folks with them in this journey.
An entourage.
Yeah. It's almost like the equivalent of when you go to the Holy Land with a group of 50 and then you stop, you take a rest stop. You know, that's a 2-hour trip. And what happens? You've been there. You know what happens is journey. It's like going on a middle school field trip, and the bus stops at the rest stop, and you're like, well, we'll be here for an hour and a half. And then all the kids come back to the bus and they bought 20-ounce sodas.
Yeah.
It's not a simple thing. This was a big undertaking. And so it would have been easy for them to say, we got it wrong. Let's just go home. Man, we come this far. I'm so disappointed. I expected bright lights. I expected a huge like Broadway show. I mean, I thought we'd probably be eating in the King's Palace. But they didn't, because their primary focus was, we have come to worship.
Yeah.
We've not come to get, we've come to give our worship to the King.
Yeah.
Beautiful example for us. So pray this season, Lord, I want a fresh new glimpse of you.
Yeah.
Now, you're not saying, oh, hey, God, show me something you've never shown me before. I mean, the difficulties of life and the disappointments of life, sometimes they jade us, and sometimes they cloud our vision to where we just need to sit there and say, hey, Lord, maybe a better way to pray it would be the same way that David did. Restore to me the joy of your salvation. Lord, like the day I was saved, man, Lord, pump me up right now.
Yeah.
I want that kind of excitement. You remember the day you were saved, you're like, I'm winning the whole world to Jesus.
Yeah.
And then you got plugged into a church and everybody's like, you're saved. Sit down, shut up. Don't worry about anything else. You're going to heaven when you die.
You're good.
Let's not be too weird out there. They'll call you a fanatic.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
Then the next one, still talking about joy, the level of joy is directly related to where you look. And I simply put on this one, like, don't look in the wrong place. Right? They were looking for Jesus. They found him. They were looking in the right place.
They looked in the natural place.
Yeah.
God doesn't always do the natural.
Correct.
He does the supernatural. God doesn't always. That's
another podcast for another day.
Well, and one of the points in experiencing God, great study, still, is God does the irrational. We would expect a king to be born in a palace.
Yeah.
Or surely he'd be born in Jerusalem.
Yeah.
No, Bethlehem, in a stable. And again, he wouldn't have probably been in the stable at this time. He would have moved on to a little bit more of a permanent type residence. But I'm just saying, it wasn't the palace.
Yeah.
And so they're like, they looked in some wrong places naturally, and then they're like, no, we got to look in the right place.
Yeah.
And then they did. And where are you looking? Where are you looking to find your contentment? Where are you looking to find your happiness and your joy? And let it not be contained just to a season of the year.
Yeah.
Let your prayer be, Lord, I want my joy to be directly centered upon you every single day of my life.
And if we're honest when we ask ourselves that question, we're honest asking ourselves that question, looking at Scripture as who Jesus is, like there can be radical change in your life whenever you answer that question honestly. Like that's,
there are times in my life, Ryan, where I will pray and say, Lord, cause me never to get over the awe of you. The awe and wonder.
Yeah.
I think so many of us have done church for so long. We come to church expecting the natural.
Yeah.
instead of awe and wonder.
Yeah.
Whew. So yeah, that's where you look.
That's
It's what
a
you
good
seek.
one. Yeah. Maybe that's
good.
another podcast too.
Yeah,
well,
you
your
never
third point. Your third point. Your joy is directly related to what you give.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, and I know you
This
said
is
you like to
directed
give,
you.
right?
Yeah, this is
And-
directed to you,
True.
the giver.
True.
In the getter.
But in talking about, going back to the Magi, talking about the wise men, like their gifts had a purpose, right? Jesus, the gift to us, has a purpose. Their gifts to him had a purpose.
And I really should have fleshed out. Clearly, I didn't have enough time to do that because all that singing going on. But the
Best sermon ever, right?
best sermon ever, man. Yeah, I would say best devotional I've given in a long time. Yeah, that's so funny. I always say this. I wish people were more concerned about the depth of my sermon versus the length of my sermon.
Yeah.
But I digress.
Yeah.
The what was I saying? Oh, they. I don't know if they understood from the Daniel prophecy.
Yeah.
If that affected their gifts or not. Maybe so. Maybe it did. I should have fleshed that out a little bit more to study that. But clearly, whether they meant to or they didn't, they gave the perfect gifts.
Yeah.
Because as we said, it not only told us who Jesus is, but it told us what he came to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gold. I mean, here, gold. You give gold for a king.
Right.
And we know him not as just the King of the Jews, but the King of all kings. Frankincense, used in the temple.
Yeah.
It would have been something that a
Yeah.
priest would have been using on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Just a sweet aroma. Sometimes they would even use it in burning when they would do the sacrifices to God, and other times they would just kind of have it. It was almost like they expected the temple to smell like frankincense, so that when have you ever been to a place and you walk in and you just it smells a certain way, and whenever you smell it, you automatically think of that place. That's what I think of when I think of frankincense. But Jesus would be the high priest, right? He came to bring us back to God. And then the myrrh, it's what you use to embalm a dead body.
Yeah.
He made no bones about it. I have come to give my life as a ransom for many. I've come to die. Beautiful picture.
Well, then you kind of close it out, we got a few seconds left, but, talking about what are we going to give? We can give love and kindness. We can give help. We can give forgiveness. And you kind of cap that statement off talking about how God gave his best by giving his only son. Like in turn, the things we give are more than the things that are wrapped, right? It's more than Again, I'm going to say more than a moment, more than a season.
Absolutely. Well, and I'm going to draw for what I just said, that the gifts that the wise men brought showed us who Jesus is and what Jesus came to do. So let the gifts that we give this Christmas symbolize who Jesus is and what he came to do.
Man.
You'll not go wrong with that.
There it is. That's a perfect ending right there, man. My goodness. Thank you for pointing to Jesus. Thank you for pointing to the truth. And we'll see you right here next time on the Unchangeable Truth Podcast.
This is Pastor Stephen Kyle, and I would like to thank you for listening to this week's episode of Unchangeable Truth. We would always love to talk to you about your relationship with Jesus Christ, so feel free to shoot us an email at podcast@highlandpark.org. That's HILANDPARK.org. The purpose of this broadcast is to help you fall more in love with Jesus Christ and your faith to grow as you consistently find yourself in the Word of God. If you ever find yourself in Panama City, please feel free to stop by and worship with us in person at 2611 Highway 231 North. May God bless you, and we look forward to you joining us again.